Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Tveit. I'm the VP of Engineering at Solera Networks, and I've come here today to talk to you a little bit about what we call the virtues of continuous deep packet capture and stream to storage. We're happy to be able to sponsor this event, Solera Networks. We feel very strongly that the open source community and particularly Wireshark are very valuable tool for networks, and so we're very happy to be a part of this first annual Sharkfest. Some things that we want to talk about, or that I would like to talk about, are the importance of continuous capture, right? Why do we want to do complete or what we call deep packet capture? Then we'll talk about some deployment strategies, some of the values and benefits of deep packet capture, some typical use case scenarios that we see from users. I'll do a brief demonstration of a virtual appliance, and in fact you have, each of you in your bags there got a 2 gig memory stick with, or flash drive, whatever, with a virtual appliance on it. So you can play with that. Excuse me. And then we'll have a quick Q&A afterwards. So one of the things that we talk about a lot is the difference between catching just a sample of traffic versus continuous. Yeah. So we look at a. Some people go in, and a lot of people that we talk to use Wireshark. Go in, turn it on, watch, try hopefully capture the events of interest. But we like to emphasize the fact that you're only looking at a very small piece of the puzzle. There's two things: the capturing only part of the traffic, or capturing only headers, right? You lose all the information that's held in the packets. Again, you're only seeing a small piece of the puzzle, is what we're trying to represent here. And it doesn't give you a good historical picture of everything that's gone on. Another thing that's easy to miss is trends. The idea that when you look at a very small part of the graph, you wouldn't see trends. So that's what we talk about: the value of complete or deep packet capture, and then stream to storage that allows you to be able to see everything that happens on your networks. So this is how, when we talk about deep packet capture, we talk about capturing the full packet. Layer 2 through 7, the header, payload. Lossless packet capture is very important. If you miss a couple packets here and there, that can be critical for some of the uses that we're seeing. And another key, and it was interesting because I was at the developer kickoff this morning. It was interesting to hear that was one of the primary concerns, was just the speed that people were able to capture with the networks. Today's networks are just going faster and faster, and keeping up with those is always going to be a challenge. So being able to capture up to and including 10 gig Ethernet is we see a lot of people looking for that solution. And you need to be able to, obviously, not just capture, but to be able to store, organize, and filter so that you don't capture, your nightly backup, or only capture traffic that you're interested in. If those are your requirements. Excuse me. So again, the continuous capture is, I think, a key to the solutions that we're providing here. The ability to have a full record of all the traffic that's on your network, not just, not just a little bit in the afternoon and in the day. You can go back, and if you identify something later, you can go back and look, let me see everything from that IP address, right? Let me see everything that went over HTTP. And obviously, the full record, in order to, to have it always on, capture everything, there's some real challenges as far as size. I mean, you need to have a very large repository to be able to capture, especially when you're talking 10 gig. A 10 gig, a fully saturated 10 gig is on, say, a 16 terabyte subsystem. You fill that up in a little over 3 hours. So on these higher speed networks, it takes a lot of storage to capture everything. And then also, for some of the use cases that we'll look at, people need to say, yeah, well, that traffic is very important to me. I want to move that to a more persistent storage. And another thing that was identified in the developer kickoff this morning was that it's pretty hopeless to try to capture very high levels of traffic. Even like getting a good percentage of usage out of a 1 gig. It's difficult to capture that with just a single disk. And, RAID or storage solutions to match network performance. And some of we see a lot of users looking at fiber channel and or iSCSI for either extending the cache of traffic that they can look at, or use it as their more persistent storage. So, if anybody has questions, I want this to be kind of if anybody has any questions during this, feel free to ask. And here's, this is one of the reasons we're here talking at Sharkfest, is because we see a lot of solutions out there that are proprietary, where the hardware and the software are very tightly coupled. You can, use this product, use our product, you can capture on it, and if you want to look at that traffic, you have to use, the tools that we provide. It's a lot different than what I and we profess. More of an open platform. It's software based. COTS, commercial off-the-shelf system, so that it's not proprietary hardware. It's you've got some extra HPDL sitting around. You could deploy it on that. Another thing that we see, people are very interested in, virtual appliances, or putting it on a virtual machine, and that again eliminates the possibility of even using proprietary hardware. Another thing, as far as open, we think it's important that APIs are provided. We personally provide SOAP and REST APIs so that you can get, make REST or SOAP requests and get data, get PCAPs. And I guess one of the things I'll make clear here shortly is that when Solera Networks, we store in the PCAP format. We leverage an open standard PCAP format. So when I'm talking about APIs here, we're providing the ability to go out, make a request, you get a PCAP back, and you can, the request can look like start time, end time, or start time, end time, filter. We can provide whatever is required, or whatever is requested, excuse me. And then, this again is kind of the approach of a hardware appliance versus a software solution. And again, dedicated appliances typically, or we see typically, very, very tightly coupled to the software that you can run on it. They're closed systems, often leveraging proprietary capture cards or other proprietary hardware that make it very challenging to bend it to your needs. And again, you're locked into the applications provided by the vendor. Well, I'd like to be able to do this. Well, we don't have an application that does that. And with the software solution, we see the value of portability. Portability from platform to platform, portability of software. Again, virtual appliances is anything that'll run, say, VMware or a virtualization hypervisor is supported by a software solution. The other thing that we see a lot of users, inevitably, no tool is perfect for everybody. So you get customers or users that are out there saying, oh, that's very close, but I need to do this. And a lot of these people go out and they have in-house software development teams, and they come up with a custom solution. And in those cases, it's really not possible to do that without kind of an open software solution. So, and I don't know if this is probably, to Wireshark users, this isn't a surprise to anybody, this is how an appliance or a solution like this would be deployed typically right behind the firewall on a network, and so that you can capture all the traffic. And then it just kind of shows you can add storage for more traffic, persistent storage, and use different tools to look at the traffic once it's. And we'll drill down into that a little bit here shortly. Excuse me. And I guess I should. I don't know. I should have taken a survey of the level of networking experience here. But so typically, either a span port or a tap on that last slide is how a solution like this would be deployed. So the most common ways we see people looking at traffic, the analysis methods they use, is the most versatile is to use PCAP. PCAP, what we call PCAP snapshot files, and those, the standard provided by Live PCAP, leveraged by Wireshark and so many of the other top network tools out there that generate or leverage PCAP. Another thing that's I think is more unique to Solera is the ability to regenerate network traffic, and that is basically we can capture onto our appliance and then regenerate back out onto a network, just like we were the firewall, and that allows you several things like DPI solutions. You can test new policies that you've added to your firewall. It allows you to limited traffic shaping by use of filters and what you want to regenerate. And also, we've seen people, particularly in front of IPS solutions like firewalls, that their firewall can't handle. Their firewall handles 100 megabits per second, and their network is faster than that. And for some part of the day, typical is like a trading floor, where during the day there's very high levels of traffic. During the evening, there's no traffic, and so to be able to throttle traffic for somebody like that, so the ability to capture everything and then play it back at a steady rate that the IPS or the appliance can consume.
Question?
Yeah.
How much throughput can you generate? Can you go up to 10 gig?
On currently, we can capture at above 8, very close to 10, and we'll get there soon enough. And then regeneration, we cannot go quite that high, but we can go most of that right now, and we'll get to a point where we can regenerate all of it within, I don't know, probably 3 months if I want to keep doing what I'm doing. So virtual interfaces is something. It's more of an internal a way that an internal architecture decision that we made, that you're able to capture traffic, and then a virtual interface allows you to basically open just like you open ETH. ETH 0, you open IFP, that's what we call it, IFP 0, and you can and then you can apply filters to that and read traffic, just, everything as it was on the network, except only what I want to see, or everything except what I don't want to see. And then again, we've done some integration using APIs, using SOAP and REST-based APIs for a DPC solution, where we're doing deep packet capture, and then somebody is doing DPI, and so the example is a firewall. Firewall, there's an event that says, hey, somebody's doing something bad at 3 o'clock between this IP and that IP, and they can format a request that says, I'm interested in, say 3 minutes before and 2 minutes after between these two IPs, and we can return that immediately. So, and this is, I don't know, I'm assuming this room, people recognize most of these. This is just an assortment of the tools that basically support PCAP, right? That these are the tools that you can use if you're, if you're looking to do network traffic analysis. And there's each of the different categories: packet analysis, instant messaging, HTTP, web reporting, intrusion detection, security. Excuse me. So, and this is the benefit of leveraging open standards, is the ability to work with such a wide variety of tools. So here's some of the challenges that a capture solution can address. Is in the network security realm, people getting incomplete views, and one of the ones that we hear that we find somewhat humorous is, we had a network security issue yesterday. So we're looking at it. And, well, what are you going to do? What's your plan of action to resolve that? He's like, well, what we'll do is we'll hook up a sniffer. We'll start Wireshark, and we'll hope it happens again. Right? It's a dangerous way to live in the network security realm. So that's an incomplete view of network traffic. Seems to me to be exposing yourself quite a bit. Excuse me. And then data loss prevention is another related to security, to be able to see what's leaving your network is basically what they're looking at there. With network management, there's also limited visibility unless you have a complete record. Excuse me. And then in the area of compliance, we often see people not having a comprehensive record of what goes on their network. So, and this is how a DPC capture solution addresses these. That rather than incomplete views, you have comprehensive surveillance. It's like a video camera on your network. You have for data loss prevention, rather than not having a record, you have a complete auditable record. You can go back and look at every single thing that has happened on your network. Similarly with network management, you can even replay what happened. And with compliance, you have an unabridged, comprehensive, unabridged record of events. From you can't hide from a network recorder. So I'd like to drill down a little bit, and I don't know what kind of I assume that the majority of the people here probably are interested in the top three, and if there's anything you'd like to cover in particular, let me know. But these are some of the examples of use that we find for these solutions. One of the more challenging things to find is somebody that comes in, pokes at your network in the network security realm, pokes at your network, and over a prolonged period of time is able to, doesn't do enough to trigger, say, an IPS solution, but is very, I guess it's the slow, persistent attack versus kind of the big upfront. Another use case that we've seen is you have, there's a new, in the realm of zero-day threats. There's a new threat. You patch or you add your signature base on your IPS. You want to test that, and so now you can run yesterday's traffic with the new policy applied and validate that it does in fact stop it. And data leak detection, you can go back and search the records. And, well, here's an email that had that proprietary document that showed up at our competitors mysteriously yesterday. We can trace that down. And then forensics is a classic place to deploy a deep packet capture solution, because you can go back and look at denial of service or distributed denial of service attacks and see, where's it coming from, where was it pointed at, and then analyze traffic. Basically, this is kind of, in this case, it would be the first tool to use, and then depending on the type of attack, you could go to the next, your arsenal of network tools to try to further analyze it. And then we had a user use our solution for a virus proliferation analysis. It was a multinational corporation that they had, a laptop in the Far East was infected, and pretty soon it got through their entire network, and they were able to go back and look at the record and say, hey, well, here's where it came from. They were even able to say which, here's the MAC address of the device that has wreaked all this havoc on our entire company. And then just generally network management. I mean, here we talk about network performance analysis, and we think of, the network was very slow yesterday morning at 11 o'clock. What happened there? And you can go back and look at the traffic. Is it an ARP storm? From some misconfigured workstation, or look at the real traffic and figure out what has caused that problem. And then reliability too. You can, did DNS? DNS wasn't working. Was there a DNS server down that affected the performance of that? For e-discovery, we talk about basically using network traffic as evidence, and that's afterwards. If you've got issues, I think the classic example is in HR, somebody's been using the network for the wrong purpose, and being able to, here's when somebody's dismissed on those grounds, to be able to say, here's why, right? Here's exactly what sites you were going to, what you were doing. We also see this solution deployed for the purpose of compliance. Everybody's heard of Sarbanes-Oxley by now. HIPAA's another one, making sure that people's social security numbers, sensitive personal data like that isn't getting out onto the network. HIPAA's another one. JSOX is the Japanese equivalent of SOX, and there's several other just kind of compliance areas where they just a complete record is essential to verify that nothing in fact has been escaped. So I want to take a little time and kind of show you. It'll be a brief demonstration of what a solution like this looks like. So what you're looking at here is the virtual appliance that you've got on your flash drive there has been installed under VMware here on a Linux server, and I'm connected to it. It's at 192, 168, 197, 129, and I'm able to, through a web interface, manipulate that virtual server. And what I've done here is captured some traffic previously. So and this is actually on ETH1 from this time to this time. There wasn't much traffic at the time, and you can download. And as you can see, you download a PCAP file with the name that relates to the traffic that's in it. And then you can open it with. Nobody looked. Yeah. So it'll bring up Wireshark, my favorite analysis tool, of course. So basically, how this is working is you start a capture on an interface, and then I can say, for this interface, I want this start time, I want that end time, or maximum bytes. Excuse me. And I can apply filters to reduce the traffic. I can either include IPs, exclude IPs. And I think what I want to show here, the power of this is that the traffic that I capture, I can get in PCAP format, so that Wireshark or any other standards-based network tool can be used to look at it. Okay. So, kind of just a recap, that the importance of these capture solutions to provide the whole picture, not just a sample. It's always on. You can't hide from a video, just like in the bank. You can't hide from the video recorder. You can't hide from a video camera on your network. And the essence of nothing is lost is you can't afford to lose packets, right? If you want to claim for compliance or for regeneration purposes, the idea that everything has to be on record, and also the idea of reducing the mean time to resolve network problems, rather than rather than, oh, we had a problem yesterday, we'll just, start capturing traffic today, and hopefully it'll happen again tomorrow or today, and then we'll take a look at it. The idea of being able to, you already have that information. You don't have to wait for it to happen. Find the root cause, not just symptoms. And then, of course, we're very strongly behind open systems and the flexibility of deployment and analysis options, so that you can, whether it's a capture appliance or a virtual appliance, and then the idea of the analysis options are open source, homegrown solutions, and then the core areas that we see it important in are network security, network management, forensics, and e-discovery, as well as compliance. And we do see it becoming a best practice for complete network visibility. I think it will become a best practice in the near future, much as firewalls have become a best practice today. So, any questions? Yep.
You kind of were brief on getting the PCAP file down. Do you have a way, like they showed in pilot, where you see the traffic and then you just pick the part you want to pull down, so that it gives you some visibility and going through? So if you have to go back to yesterday, you wouldn't normally know you needed to go back to yesterday unless there was something you could see that you were going back to.
Yeah, I mean that's a basic issue of when you're capturing this much traffic, is to be able to figure out and we allow filters, like I say, with IP address.
If you don't know what you're filtering on, you need to see everything.
So then then you can look at use tools like Wireshark would be a perfect example to just basically go look at a cross section, right? Because it's we can't give you the answer, right? We can't tell you here's what you should look for. You need to use tools whether to narrow your search.
Right.
So, and Wireshark would be that's the first one I use.
How much, in different environments you've been in, what type of policies do you see set?
The full range. I mean, we've been deployed in some places where we don't get to know much about. we deliver a box and maybe get some questions to somebody that corporate customer that just wants to, I want to know what's going on in my network, right? From a proactive, I don't want people using my network, to security or to network management.
Is it possible to put on a bell curve at all? Like enterprises or healthcare that installs for A or B purpose, just to get a case?
I think I'd say the heart of the bell curve would be kind of a network management mix.
In one of your slides, you posted how to connect it going out through the firewall and through the router. What would you do to connect it to scan the LAN? Only that building.
With the span port, you can basically using a span port on a switcher router, you could say, I want to see, whether you have VLANs or that's more of a networking question than a capture question, right? And we also, in some of the appliances that we deploy, we can capture up to 8 networks, right? So you can have, here's one let's capture the WAN and these 7 LANs or something like that. So, because there's definitely, it's difficult to say this point captures all the traffic, right? Like if you have inter-machine, or like you say, LAN or VLAN traffic. So it's just a matter of knowing your network and understanding I should be tapping people before we do.
What is the price to capture your networks, complete network? per speed.
You're asking the price?
Yeah.
I will have you speak with a couple of my gentlemen back there, because I don't know the exact numbers. I know ranges, so but I'll get you that information. Don't worry. Anything else?
What kind of challenges do you see when people start trying to deploy this stuff? A lot of times, do you come in after people have been capturing and trying to capture things?
A lot, one of the most common, I'll be quite honest, one of the most common sales we have is I've been using Wireshark to capture for some amount of time, but my network's faster, I got more traffic, and that's as was pointed out by Gerald this morning in the developers meeting, was that it only scales to a certain level, and it's it's overhead in you can go from the network driver, WinPCAP, the fact that Wireshark is a user level app, so I don't want to say, I won't give a percentage, but a significant number of the people that we see are, I love Wireshark and I want to keep using it, but it just doesn't capture fast enough. So that's a very common.
Do you guarantee a certain level of performance?
Do you mean as far as
Comparing it against Wireshark, so you're suggesting that you capture more of the packets that Wireshark might miss. So I'm asking, does the company guarantee a level of performance that you capture all packets?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically when we measure performance. We say lossless capture to this rate, right? And because that's key for us. I understand, because you do see, when you start pushing Wireshark to its limits, that's how you know you need to improve your solution, is when you see drop packets.
Laptop's not that fast.
and it's all, I mean, that's one alternative is bigger iron, but that's only cost effective to a certain extent. All right, anything else? If there are any further questions, please feel free to contact me. I'd love to hear from you, and if there's anything you don't think or that comes to you on your way out, please. And one thing I'm supposed to ask is, close the door. Don't let them out without their. No, you're supposed. Please fill out the surveys regarding the talk.
Who's the founder of Solera?
Brian Sparks. Yeah, he's a file system guru from originally from Novell, and the founder of Caldera and Linea as well. Pretty nice, smart guy with good pedigree, good track record.
Your name again?
Paul Twine.
Yeah.